The Montessori Peaks Academy Board of Directors meeting for today, February 21st at 6:32 p.m. Becky, if you want to go ahead with roll call.
Justin Sasso,
Present.
Terry Hughes,
Present.
Adam Livingston,
I'm here.
Irene Mihawk,
Here.
Becky Springstead is here. Brittany Horseman,
I'm here.
Rebecca is not in attendance. Have we heard if she'll be joining later?
I have not heard. She might just be running late, and we just need to note when she joins the meeting.
Okay. And Emily Split. And then Elizabeth, we did move you into an official position as of last month, correct, Irene?
No, we have to vote on it today.
It'll be voted on today. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see Rebecca is joining now, so I will include her here in the initial attendance. So a quorum is present.
Okay, thank you, Becky. So the first thing I'd like to do is go ahead and read the mission statement for MPA. It is the mission of Montessori Peaks Academy to achieve high standards of individual excellence by guiding the whole student through an exceptional learning experience based on the educational philosophy of Maria Montessori. The next thing we have is community comments. I have not received any personally. Has anybody else received any community comments? No. Okay. So with that, I'm going to go to the next agenda item, and that is for us to go ahead and appoint the staff representative / director position on the board. My understanding is that the staff had another chance to talk about that position, and everybody is in support of Miss Elizabeth Lewis taking that spot, but we need to officially vote. Miss Elizabeth, is there anything you wanted to say, or you comfortable with moving forward?
I'm comfortable with you guys moving forward in whatever you decide.
Okay.
It's her last chance to run.
Thanks, Justin.
So I'd like to motion that we appoint Elizabeth Lewis as the staff representative for MPA. Are we doing this, I read at this point, for the 2020?
Through the end of the school year, and the staff will vote at that point in time. I think at their May staff meeting, Ms. Elizabeth can continue to hold the position should that be what the staff decides. But at this point, we're just appointing through the school year.
So let me revise that and restate. So I'd like to motion to appoint Elizabeth Lewis to the staff position through the remainder of the 2022-2023 school year.
Do we have a second?
Roll call. So Justin,
Yes, sorry.
Terry,
Yes.
Adam, Irene,
Yes.
Becky, yes, Brittany,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
and passes. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So Elizabeth, I'll be in touch with you. There's some paperwork that we need to do that everybody on the board does and will continue to do yearly when the new board members come on every year.
Okay.
Reed, is that something I need to follow up,
How
Elizabeth?
about I just put both of us and Elizabeth on there?
Sure.
You can help me figure out the tech piece. Does she need a different email to access the board documents? That stuff.
Sure. I kind of have a checklist for that if you want, so. Yep.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead and move on to the next agenda item. Hearing from Dr. Gary.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Hey, it's a lovely day. We'll see how it proceeds 24 hours from now. But nonetheless, I returned midday today Trains, plane, well, no one train, plane and automobile to get from Prescott back. Had a great visit with my sisters, just long enough. Not too short, not too long, especially the latter. Anyway, I see on the agenda there isn't much to report other than I know the teachers really appreciated having the last Friday in advance of the holiday weekend to get things together and not be committed to anything other than working as a team or taking care of business. PTA provided a coffee truck in the afternoon. I didn't hear specifically about that, but knew that that was going to happen, and that's real good as well. The couple things to speak to, either Jen or myself are already on the item dealing with the North Building updates in terms of some bids, as well as the preschool tuition thing that you have in your packet, an item that speaks to what that would look like for next school year, given universal pre-K coming into play as well. I'll field any questions you might have or thoughts, but with that, that's a pretty short principals report.
I do have one question. Do we have information or do you know what things are looking like in terms of enrollment for next year? Have you gotten any kind of?
Yeah, good. Yeah, actually, I went over that with Veronica. No specifics, but we've had a good retention. Actually, we have more fifth graders staying on in sixth grade, probably 5 or 6 more than what we've had. When I take a look at the numbers from current grade level to next grade level, the retention is easily 90% or higher, which is about average. It'd be better if it was more. We have 11 seventh graders, 10 current sixth graders and 1 new that'll come on board. We, as we take a look at the numbers, we're really in good standing, although can't be any more specific than that. But really in good standing, and Roll Jeffco's helping us. And in terms of 3-year-olds, good numbers because they went through Enroll Jeffco. 4-year-olds, we don't know because I think it's another week before we really know what might come out of UPK with 4-year-olds. So the enrollment looks very good.
Sounds good. Does anybody else have any other questions or areas for Dr. Gary? Okay. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next agenda item, which is preschool tuition. We had something in the packet sort of explaining that has all the different possible ways that somebody could attend preschool with their different schedules. So that we have the 3-year-old Monday through Thursday, or Monday through Friday half day, 3-year-old full day Monday through Thursday, or Monday through Friday. And then for 4-year-olds, all the kids attend Monday through Friday. It's just a matter of half day or full day. And so what we have on this information is what we would get reimbursed by the state for UPK. And I'm going to start with 4-year-olds. For the 4-year-old preschool, if they're half day, all of it gets reimbursed and there's no tuition for the families. And what we're asking the board to take a look at and vote for approval is the amount that they would need to pay if they do full day. So the state would cover those 15 hours and then the families would pay that difference unless they have a qualifying factor. And that is dependent on the families, student by student. If they have a qualifying factor, the state will pay us that remaining amount, so the family won't have to pay it. For 3-year-olds, if they have a qualifying factor, then we get reimbursed by the state. If they don't, then families are paying the tuition out of pocket. So that's how that works. And those are the actual numbers. Does anybody have any questions about that? Gary and Jen can speak more specifically if I didn't cover something or you don't see the information you're looking for.
I might add, in terms of the 3-year-olds, the only reimbursement the state provides is for a 3-year-old is if they have a qualifying factor, and those are noted at the bottom, as well as only 10 hours. Our shortest program is 12. So that's why even if it's a qualifying factor 3-year-old going only 10 hours, they would pay a little bit of difference to make up for the additional 2 hours. We're not going to have a 10-hour program. That's all we're reimbursed. Parents would have to make a choice. If you have a qualifying factor and you're going to be a 3-year-old, to be fair, we're hoping that doesn't happen. But if it should, then you would be committing to a 2-hour-a-week program and paying a little bit extra. In terms of the 4-year-old, it's only the state reimburses 4-year-olds only if there's a qualifying factor. The first qualifying factor is your 4. If you're 4 years old within those timelines, then the state will pay for half a day, automatic. If you have a qualifying factor beyond being 4, well, then the state would reimburse a full amount. If the numbers come out, we are, as Jen and I went over these, we are expecting that this could generate anywhere from $45,000 to $60,000 additional tuition into next year compared to this year at the preschool level.
Is that, I'm sorry, oh, sorry, is that if we were fully 20 kids per classroom?
Yeah, that's expecting that we're going to be enrolled at the numbers we want at each of those grade.
No, that was based on the exact enrollment we have now.
And that's because of the state reimbursement amount
Is increased.
compared to what our tuition has been. So we're just matching up with that state recommended amount.
Correct.
So
is that
these numbers for the additional hours, that a parent would be responsible for paying, are those matching up with what numbers the state is using, or are those back up to, or are those not back up to, but are those aligned with what we had originally budgeted for tuition, if that makes sense?
So my understanding, and Gary, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's lining up with the state, because the way it was looked at was for 4-year-olds, that number would go down regardless if they went full day, even if they didn't have an additional qualifying factor. And then for 3-year-olds, I don't think that we increase the tuition, but I'm not going to say 100%. I need Jen and Gary to speak to that.
3-year-olds was not increased at all. And 4-year-olds, although the amount increased, the amount that parents are paying is much less. For instance, for full day, 4-year-old, Monday through Friday, this year they're paying $8,400. Next year, they'll only be paying, the parents out of pocket is $46,23, $26.
Got it. That's what I couldn't tell from this chart. I appreciate you providing that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I have a quick question though too, and I might be completely ignorant to this, but so I'm looking at the annual tuition numbers. Those are what we charge, correct? Like the 5,500 to 8,400.
Correct.
Okay, are we on par with other Jeffco preschools with what we charge, or where do we sit with that? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Dr. Gary.
Yeah, from what I know, and talking with Veronica as well as Jen, is that the tuition rates for this school year, 22-23, were probably a better bargain for folks in the area. We're on the lower end. This probably will put us on par with a lot of the other programs in Jeffco.
Okay.
And I will just, Elizabeth, the history, just last year when the budget was developed, we were more than competitive, should I say, for the area. And so the finance committee recommended to the board to adopt a budget that increased on a small interval to get us closer to what other comparable programs in the district were charging, but we weren't quite there yet. And so that's an additional just backstory, if that helps.
It does, thanks.
So should the board feel comfortable with what has been presented to us? Dr. Gary and Jen are asking that we vote to adopt these amounts.
I will move to adopt the proposed preschool tuition amounts for 2023-2024 school year, proposed by Dr. Gary and Ms. Webb.
I'll second.
Sorry, lost my mute button. Okay, let me go back through our list in order here. My apologies. Justin,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Adam, Irene,
Yes.
Becky, yes, Brittany,
Yes,
Rebecca,
Yes.
and Emily.
Yes.
That motion passes. Oh, and my apologies, Elizabeth.
Yes. I wasn't sure if I could or couldn't, so yes.
Thanks, everybody. So that information will help when finalizing budget as we look at next year when the finance committee goes over it again. The next thing on the agenda is talking about and seeing if we are comfortable with the academic calendar as it was presented in the board packet. We talked about it last time, suggested some changes with the colors and just being able to read it easier, double check the number of days in the calendar and all that stuff. What was told to me was that it does match up with the Jeffco calendar, as well as it has gone through Roundtable in the form that it is presented to you guys.
That is correct.
So unless there are other concerns, questions, the staff is asking that the board look at it for adoption for next year.
I don't have any additional changes at this time.
I can say I feel comfortable with it. I feel like the changes that were made make sense. It's easy to read. The colors stand out. It flows. The staff has the number of work days that they need. No makeup days are on there. Number of school days and contact days all match up with what we need.
And the split days went away. That looks good too.
That's a possibility in the future. At this point, they're just asking that we adopt the dates and the form that it's in at this point. That might be a computer thing just to work with the person who finalized it for us.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll link you guys up.
Need a motion to accept the calendar? I'll motion to accept the 2023-2024 Montessori Peaks Academy Master Calendar.
Justin,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Adam, Irene,
Yes.
Becky, yes, Brittany,
yes,
Rebecca,
Yes. Becky, that was yes. Not sure if you heard me.
oh yes, I heard you, Rebecca, thank you.
Okay,
I
sorry.
missed Elizabeth, or I mean,
Yeah.
sorry, not Elizabeth, Emily.
Yes.
Okay, Emily's yes, and then Elizabeth.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion passes.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is architecture DCS North Building updates. So there's a couple different areas that we need to talk about regarding everything that's going on with the North Building. The first piece of it is that they are still working on all the final permits for construction. It is quite a process, I have learned. They have connections with the people that they need to have connections with and have been working on submitting things. There is a demo permit that was submitted with the goal of starting demolition stuff inside the building next week on Monday. The first step is going to be mobilizing. It will affect the parking. It is going to affect it in the way that was previously sent out to families, and I will make sure that another notice gets sent out to families. The ones that will be most affected are the ones that park in the North Building property along Kipling on the west side of the building, because that's going to be totally blocked off for construction parking. There will be some parking blocked off on the north side of the building, but there's enough area there that cars can still drive through. And then a little bit of space will be blocked off on the east side, but there will still be parking and ability to get in and out of the parking lot because the dumpster is going to be up against the building. So those people that take those spots, there's some handicap spots that are used by parents that park to pick up their kids. Those are going to be taken by the big dumpster and some other construction stuff. So a little bit of changes for parents. We're hoping that it starts next week. The other piece of it is there are some things that were not included in what we voted on and approved for construction previously that we needed to take a look at. Jen has worked really hard to get good bids. It has to do with the elevator and getting that running again. We saved a lot of money over the last several years having it turned off. So there's a process to get it turned back on. A safety check has to be performed, and then there's a service fee, and so that has to get done. That's going to be part of inspections for the building to be ADA compliant, and then internet stuff. So we need what's called data drops in the building in different places around classrooms and whatnot. We won't have to get a whole new internet service. We're going to tie into what we already get at the south building. An antenna or will have to be put in at some point, and then cabling, and then the data drops. The key for this is to have the data drops happen when they're doing the construction, because they're already going to have ceiling tiles out and walls down. And it just, instead of having to have those things done once the project's complete to get the data drops, it makes sense to contract and have them done while construction is going on. Plus then there'll be internet in the building, and any fire inspection folks or whatnot that need to test anything through the internet, they'll be able to do it correctly and not come back to us and say, well, we can't connect to what we need to connect to. So with that, Jen, do you want to fill in things that I missed? I don't know if the board wants to vote and approve the ability to move forward with these contracts that Jen has been working towards getting, or
Yeah, I mean, you covered everything. It's like Dr. Carey said earlier, it's just, it's cost of doing business. We have to do it. And like you said earlier, things are only going to go up. So even if we could postpone these, it's just going to cost more money if we wait.
Do you have numbers for, like, how much are you talking about? How much are these contracts? Are they for a year? Can you give us some more details about that?
so
Sure.
I'm going to do data drops first. So for that, there's a big upfront number because it's putting the hardware in place. But it doesn't, as far as I understand, Jen, change the contract that we have with our
Yeah,
internet.
these are all jobs. These aren't like contracts.
So like for
Ongoing
the
month to month.
most
does it-
expensive one is the data drops, and that came out 21,600 because it includes the hardware and the time for the people to do it. The elevator came out at 4,300 plus an hourly fee, which they can't give us an exact number of hours to do it. The flat fee is for the safety test that they're required to perform to officially turn it back on. What was the last one? The last one wasn't nearly as much.
The antennas,
Yep. And that one, sorry, I'm looking at the email. that-
1,900 and change.
Okay. So they're not small amounts. They could be worse because when we talked with the construction folks about internet and whatnot, this is a lot better.
Yeah,
Are they is DCS gonna roll this stuff under their project management so that they're gonna oversee the work?
I can
We-
ask them tomorrow morning not tomorrow, Thursday. morning
Thursday.
When we meet at 9, or we can, you know what, we should probably just reach out to Seth and ask him.
Mm-hmm.
That would probably be best.
I'll do that.
Because you have the contract information with names and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Needs that to be able to say yes or no.
Okay.
And maybe we should, I mean, I don't know if we're not gonna use, are we not gonna use 5B funds for this?
No, because the 5B funds are all taken up with the original construction project.
Yeah, I just didn't know how it was gonna be. I'm assuming that these contracts are gonna be paid on before the 5B funds are expended, so if we did use 5B funds, we'd have to make sure that these contracts, I believe, are approved by Jeffco or go through that process, but if we're not, then we avoid having to do that, is what I was saying.
Yes, I would venture to guess that both are already with approved vendors, but the process takes too long. I was planning on just running these through our current budget for construction. I mean, it'll still be our budget number. I can call it capital construction funds, but basically it's just going to take away from our bottom line.
And that will apply to
this
this
school year.
year's budget. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank-
The only one we could really hold off on is that $1,900 antenna, but like I was telling Brittany, I'd hate for the elevator guy not to be able to complete the test because he doesn't have a strong enough signal.
And then charge us twice for coming out to the school.
Yeah,
That would just,
that is hourly rate of $700.
21,000. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I asked so many questions.
No, Brittany, I think we're probably saying the same thing. Can you restate the dollar amount? So it was 21,000 for the data drop.
So, okay, I'll start. I have them all right here. So the minimum, the test for the elevator is 4,300. The hourly rate is $636. So at minimum, that job will be just under $5,000. That's assuming when they turn it on, it stays on and they don't have to do much work. If they have to work at it, then it's going to cost that hourly rate. But we'll know at that point and can pull the plug if we need to. The data drops, which they're going to do 63 plus hardware, is $21,689. There's like racks and ladders and the jacks, the ports, the connectors, all that. It's in the quote. If you want to take a look at it, I can send it to you. And then the last one is 1,900, and that's to run the cable for the antennas. We actually will still have to purchase the actual antennas, but Adam, you could probably speak to this. I think those are just a few $100s each, and our data guys will be out tomorrow. And so I'll talk to them about that tomorrow.
Jen, did you say that these contracts are really just like a 2-page bid? Do they have warranties for any of this material? I'm talking about the $21,000 one. The smaller ones I'm not concerned about, but the $21,000.
Yeah, it's a company that's done business with Jeffco before. It's not a 1-pager. It's probably like an 8-pager, and it talks about environment and sustainability and recruiting and all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, I can send it over to you. It clearly points out the work that they do, the work that they don't do.
Is there a warranty is there a warranty section? Is it like 1-year warranty, or how long do they warrant their work for? Is what I'm saying.
Oh, I don't recall that, but let me take a look at it. We can move on. I'll let you know if I find something.
If you find it and you want to shoot it over by email, I just like to, I think we should put eyes on it, but I understand the need to move forward. I'm not trying to
No,
obstruct.
I appreciate you looking out for us for sure.
So Jen and I will make sure that we double check with DCS and see if they'll take this stuff under the project management. They know that we were looking into this. It's come up in conversation when we've done owner architect contractor meetings so far, and we said that we would work towards getting these action items looked at. So I don't think it'll be a surprise, but Brittany, we will double check that for sure. And then we'll get you the information on the warranty. I think it would make sense once we have those answers, send all the information to everybody regardless, just so you have the information. And then you can directly contact me or Jen if you have questions.
But we need a vote tonight. What you're saying is we need a vote tonight on it, right? To go forward so you don't lose.
Jen, you know how long these contracts are good for. If you feel like you need the vote to be able to move forward, let me know and we'll.
I think we do. I just looked
Okay.
through. I didn't see anything on the warranty, but I'll shoot the salesperson an email. We need to get going on this because especially with the cabling, it needs to be ordered. And we have to get on the contractor's timeline of work to be done because we need it to be done as, you know, concurrently to what we're doing over there.
That way we're not doing more work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
approve the dollar amount. And again, if, as we, some good questions here and Jen and I will follow up on that. If it's something seems a little goofy, like, okay, just send us the money and we'll do the work and say goodbye. No, that's not going to happen. We need to make sure that whatever work they do is in good standing for a while anyway. I, as Jen said, we've got to start moving on some of this stuff so it does coincide with the construction work. But again, if anything seems a little out of sync or not out of whack or whatever, we'll certainly get back and back to you all and stop spending any money in that regard.
I don't have a problem pursuing. I think that's a great idea. Approve the expenditure amounts. Subject to, you know, signing the contracts and those sorts of things. I understand that it's a balance.
Thank you, Brittany.
So since I have those dollar amounts here, I'd like to motion, unless there was additional discussion. See anyone off mute. So I'd like to motion that we approve 3 additional expenditures for the north building. Roughly $5,000 for the elevator reinspection, reinstatement, antenna cables coming in at roughly $2,100, and the addition of 63 data drops and hardware for $21,689, contingent upon contracts, including warranty information.
You know, I don't, just a suggestion. I don't know if we need to specify the provisions because they might go back and the vendor might say, this is our standard contract and this is how we do it. And they might not agree to change it. I I don't, there could be a lot of ways they could put something in a contract that's not a specifically a warranty provision. So I don't know, maybe we could tweak the motion a little bit to just approve the expenditures for those purposes. And noting that the board wants Jen and Dr. Gary to follow up on these specific provisions, warranty and those sorts of things. Does that make sense? I don't want to jam up Jen and
Yeah.
going through the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and put any limitations that are gonna then make it harder to get this pushed through. No, so let me.
And I
let me
just wanted
amend
to follow up and just reiterate that Jen said that the more expensive expenditure is with a company that Jeffco does work with on an ongoing basis and has a good reputation with Jeffco. So it hopefully, you know, helps people feel a little more comfortable.
And the elevator company is one that's worked with the main building for years.
That's good as well. Long-standing relationship. So let me attempt that again. So I motion to approve the additional expense items that have been identified for the north building and elevator inspection and reinstatement, antenna cables at $2,100, and the addition of 63 data drops and hardware for $21,689. Justin,
Yes.
Terry,
yes,
Adam, Irene,
Yes.
Becky, yes, Brittany,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Thank you, guys. The next thing on our agenda is committee reports, and if people are okay with it, I would like to do the middle school one first, simply because it goes with the north building, if people feel comfortable with that. Middle school committee has continued to meet. We would love for the curriculum to be being planned, but made the decision that it would make more sense to find our first teacher who would be a part of that curriculum planning process, and moved forward with the posting of a job and an interview process that included stuff that's very similar for the South Building: an initial screening, a team interview, which we had people on the middle school committee as well as some teachers from the school, and Beth a part of as well. And then we had them do a lesson. The person that is a current candidate did a lesson demonstration and has a third interview scheduled for this coming week. And the lesson demonstration took place in an upper L classroom, which is the closest we have age level wise. And any other candidates for that position would go through the same process, but we do have a candidate who will go into their third interview this week, and we will continue to move forward with that process. So middle school programming and building that program is definitely moving forward. There has been interest from students in our current building, and there have been people who have signed up to be a part of that first year in the middle school next year. Terry is also a part of that committee. So Terry, if I left something out, feel free to speak up.
Nope, I think you got it all. Thank you.
Okay. Sounds good. Does anybody have any questions about what's going on with that?
What would the anticipated start date be? Did you say, Irene, so that they can work on curriculum?
The current candidate that we have, last conversation that I had with this person, they would be able to start after spring break.
That's good to hear. So we're not waiting until the end of this.
No, we do not want to wait till after the school year's over. We would like them to spend some time in some of our classrooms. We'd like to figure out some trainings. And really be a part of our school community as they build the program. So.
And then other question is this individual coming in, or are we looking for individuals with Montessori, or looking more so with individuals with secondary education that can
So the
learn
job
Montessori?
listing is for somebody either with secondary certifications in the state of Colorado or with Montessori training. Preferably at the middle school level or with a plan to get it at the middle school level. Obviously, if they're coming in without Montessori training, that is part of what we're looking at timeline wise for them to be able to do. Even if it's not a full 2-year training, it would be at least some training as well as time in our classrooms to be able to really understand the philosophy and create a program with that. I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you.
Has the, and I'm sorry if I missed this. So the middle school committee is the hiring committee for the middle school as well? And is there a
So-
salary range that has been approved or needs to be approved, or?
I
Just,
don't think there's a salary range that needs to be approved by the board.
Got it.
Simply because the board already approved $150,000 to go towards the middle school as the program starts. None of that has been spent yet. We know that a huge chunk of that is going to be for the staff member to be able to start before the school year is over. And some of it will go into materials that need to be bought. Leftover would go towards salaries next year.
thanks. I wasn't linking that expenditure, that approval with the hiring, so thanks.
Yeah, no problem. And so as soon as I have more information, obviously we would share it, but that's kind of where we're at. Some of the parents that have been a part of that interview group, we have somebody who's been a middle school teacher. We have somebody who's a school administrator. We have Beth, we have myself. Terry was there. We have some HR folks. And then Miss Beth was there. And they also did the demonstration in Upper L classroom. We got feedback from that teacher on what they think as well for how it went. So we're trying to incorporate teachers into that process a little bit. Oh, and Miss Darcy was there as well for the interview. So we have people asking questions from a Montessori perspective.
Awesome. Thank you, Arit.
Yeah. no
Terry.
problem. So with that, that's the middle school report. So back to the top of the list of committee reports. The next thing is finance.
Jen, you want to go over, well, does anybody, I can just overview that this revised budget for this school year was for the first time presented to the finance committee before the board. So Jen has a history of doing it a little bit differently than we've done it in the past. And so that was new for the finance committee, which was great. We had really great participation. Several parents joined the finance committee and at our first meeting, which was amazing. That's awesome. And so we had a really good group. And Justin was there as well. And this was presented to them. Nobody had any questions or concerns that they expressed with us approving the revised budget. In the past, this was just always brought to the board every month or anytime there was, revisions, and the board would ask Jen questions or Amy questions and then approve it. But this time, Jen, you can speak more for your experience, but she shared with the finance committee that the finance committee would meet more often, not just during budget season, and would review these revised budgets as well and make recommendations to the board. And so we went through that process for this committee and with this committee this month, and the recommendation was to approve the revised budget. Jen, did I share your experience and your recommendation if you need to, or if you want to, or add anything else?
That's exactly correct, Brittany. I agree. It was a good meeting having that many parents there and people involved. And
I just want to clarify, as somebody who was not involved in that committee meeting, some of the changes are due to final count of students and the PPR information. Is that correct?
correct.
Okay. Are there any major areas of change that you want to make sure somebody who has not gone over it with a fine tooth comb did not miss?
At the end of the budget, there's a $30,000 decrease for now. We still will be able to revise the budget, a few more times till it's finalized. But it was mainly moving things from one category to another. So we did spend a lot more money this year in curriculum, or what do they call it? Just instructional materials. And that's because the budget number that was put in there was $30,000, because that was what they did during COVID. So this year we decided, with all the funds earlier in the year, Brittany and Justin and I met, and we said we need to get these classrooms back up to speed, buy the missing puzzle pieces, replace the broken items, get the teachers what they need to have a stocked classroom. And between this year and next year, we should be able to get everybody, the things that they need in their classroom to be successful.
And this was, oh, go ahead, Arit, sorry.
I was just going to say that's good news that we're looking at that aspect, to have a successful Montessori program.
And just, this was a transition historically. If teachers had a wish list, they would get funding
I
from.
first presented it to Dr. Gary, went over it, and then to the finance committee, and I believe all questions of. So if it gets approved, then I will change it with the district, and then I can run reports and show the budget versus actual starting at next month's meeting.
And just to piggyback on the instructional materials was, used to come a lot from the PTA. And now they're turning their focus to fundraising for other things, and they have that initiative. And we as the finance committee felt and recommended that that the school incorporate the instructional materials in our operating budget, that is something that we're responsible for.
Yeah, that should come out of, per pupil revenue.
Yeah, so this year was a big adjustment because we're catching up with that, and we didn't want teachers to have to wait a year for something they're wishing for if they need it for the classroom. And so there was, that's a very large expenditure that wasn't budgeted for in total. But I do want to point out, everybody, at the bottom where it says revenue less expenses in bold, the bottom of the document, you see the adjusted, which is 303,126. Just keep, that's indicating that's not where we're going to end up. That $150,000 that we budgeted for the middle school budget is going to come out of there. There's other expenses that are going to come out of that 303 that aren't accounted
what we're targeting for.
Yes.
But we're spending it as we're targeting.
Yeah. So just don't, if we're thinking, oh, we're going to be that much in the black, so to speak, it's not going to end up there.
Yeah.
We'll still be in a very positive position, but it's not going to, that number is going to go down.
And part of that is because we're creating a brand new program. So that's where some of that money is going. And as long as we're still in a good place, I feel comfortable with it. So for Jen to be able to submit this to Jefferson County as is required, we need to make sure that as a board, we vote and approve the revised budget.
Another question before we move forward. So like if I'm looking at the budget document, it's saying revised budget on January 23rd or
2023.
January
of
23.
And then the approved budget is what we approved March of 2022. So like
Correct.
The second item there, fundraising, for example, sales fundraising. We had anticipated that we would not have sales fundraising. We are now saying that we are going to have a $7,000 sales fundraising line item, and that's how that's accounted for.
Correct. So basically on the revenues, that's just how the money came in. And Amy could have done it a little bit differently, but basically if we have a restaurant night at, you know, the yogurt place or Angie's or wherever, that's a fundraiser. So I key it into the fundraising. So if that's something that wasn't done last year, there was no budget amount there. When Art does their Artime and the various art things that she does, those are all fundraising things. So they go into that fundraising act.
Jen, I think that's what you meant when you were telling the board, some things are just because they're being moved around. So
Yeah.
you're categorizing them in one way, when maybe in the past, when we adopted the budget last year, it was
Mhm.
categorized under a different category. And so things are getting spent more or less, but they're also moving around.
Yeah,
So it's a little bit of adjustment year as you adopt a system that you like and categorizing things. And we move towards that for next year. So,
That
exactly.
makes sense as far as why some items might be negative then, but overall, the difference between the two revenue numbers is very small in comparison to the overall budgeted amount,
Correct.
because we're moving things around and recovering. Now I'm following.
yeah, if you look at line, so where it says total revenue and it's over on the, sorry, there's just not a number there. That's why I made that sound. If you look at the total revenue and then you look at the far right-hand column that says 115. So even though there's all these changes, we're still up in revenue, $150,000 approximately. And then if you go down to the total purchases, you see we're up on the purchases, meaning more purchases than we budgeted by 63.5. But when you balance those two out, it's still in the very much in the positive direction.
Yeah, and as a percentage of overall revenue and spend, I mean, we're very close to
Yeah,
target.
Right on track. Yep. Mhm. And we're well over our ratio that we need to be compliant with our mortgage at the bottom, way more than they require. So unless there's more discussion, I would move to approve the revised 2023 budget.
Second,
Can I second being on that committee, or should that come from someone else?
I can second. Okay, Justin,
Yes.
Terry,
He's not buying it.
Thumbs up if you approve, thumbs down if you don't.
perfect. Thank you, Terry. Adam,
I had a page up that was doing it. so.
Irene,
Yes.
Becky, yes. Brittany,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
that motion passes.
Thank you, guys. With that, we'll move on to marketing.
Can I say one thing, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Back to the data contractor. I just heard back from him and he said the product set alone has a 20-year parts and materials warranty, and then we offer a year on workmanship. So I think that's pretty good.
It's very standard. Yep. And the 20 years is good. So
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really good.
awesome, Jen. Thanks so much for providing that additional.
Yeah, and I'll reach out to DCS tomorrow.
That was a quick turnaround. Thank you.
Mhm.
So Justin or Becky with marketing.
Becky, do you want me to take lead on this?
Sure, please do.
Not a lot to report. We do want to get together with the homeschool and kind of reassess some of the marketing and messages that marketing needs to get out in front of. Our biggest issue right now is we could use some help. We don't have, I think we've had a couple of parents tell us they were interested, but outreach and emails and phone calls have gone unanswered. So if we do have an audience of parents right now, we would love your input and assistance on the marketing committee. Right now, it kind of feels like Becky and I are making all the decisions and we don't, know if those are right or wrong. I'd say we were successful with our direct mail based on attendance levels and the interest in the school right now. I think we had somewhere around 30 clicks or QR code pass-throughs. And Adam, I don't know if you've seen more on the click-throughs as well. Yeah, a couple, but we do think like messaging right now probably needs to be fine-tuned. I mentioned earlier, homeschool could use some more enrollment. There was also discussion, Jen, you made me aware that the enrollment banner is gone. And Jen and I desperately want one of those auto lot flappy arm inflatable guys to stand on the corner.
Desperately.
Or a row of them, maybe an army of them. And then a couple of things came through Veronica's update as she provided some information to me. And I apologize, I had this data somewhere underneath all these pages, but there were a couple of takeaways from Veronica's data that I think we can really use to focus in on who we want to target and what we're hearing back from parents who are interested in the school. And I apologize, I'm not finding it right now, but and Becky, maybe you could jog my memory. One of the takeaways was the homeschools they were coming from. And as I recall, I think I broke it down to like 3 of the top schools. I'm actually looking for the text I shared with Becky as I was doing
It's
some
our
statistics.
schools that are located to the northwest of MPA predominantly is where we're seeing interest coming from. So
That's right.
I want to say it was
Here it is, Powderhorn,
thank you.
Kindle View, and Westridge. Yeah, sorry, I was scrolling rapidly as you were saying that. Yeah, those are the 3 top schools that we get students from. In the list I received, 22 had come from Powderhorn, 15 from Kindleview, and 7 from Westridge. So if we were to do another mailing, I think those are communities that we might want to make sure we're getting into, in front of families on. Or any marketing we do probably should be focused around those neighborhoods. And I think Becky, you sent me a snapshot of that. The other takeaway I had was how they heard about us. And I haven't had a chance to really break that information down. There were a lot of word of mouth, which is always popular. There were, I think one had seen a flyer, one had, obviously heard from other parents, or they had other family in the school, or I'd like to kind of boil that down at some point, figure out what kind of data we might glean from that as well. So yeah, a couple of things Veronica shared with me, I think could help guide us in where to target, but I think we want to first focus on what the message needs to be right now. And we don't want to overload. If we already have wait lists for certain grades, there's no sense in making those wait lists longer. So we need to really focus on what grades, upper L, lower L, homeschool, that need help right now. So Becky and I can continue forging along as the marketing committee, but we would really, really, really encourage parents that have any interest in it. You don't have to have a marketing background or advertising agency in your back pocket or any of that. We'll just take folks who want to have some input on where we're putting our message and how we're doing it. So I think that was it. Becky, did you have anything to add?
The only thing I was going to mention is I did get an opportunity to sit down with Miss Heather and revisit the website updates that we had started to look at under, I think it was 2 years ago under the marketing committee. And so we're going to continue with that work. It's a slow and steady process, but Heather has a few things that she's targeting for this year specifically. So we'll start to see those on the site as well. And mainly I call that out to say thank you to Miss Heather, who continues to partner with us and bring things forward and make improvements. So.
Awesome. So I think we can add the 30 QR code scans to that, or does that tie into those? Are they separate or? Okay. So then that's actually closer to 70. 70 leads pulled off the cards, or at least, you know, we piqued interest of 70 of the recipients. So
That's amazing.
yeah, I mean, that's
Really is.
pretty average for direct mail. I mean, not to pick on it, but it is called junk mail for a reason. But it's timing. You know, you
Well,
don't look at the champion flyer, you know,
and just the
until you
amount
need
of money
windows.
we spent
Yeah.
putting those out there versus what we receive in PPR is amazing.
That's true. That's true. And that, I think that was one of the arguments from the beginning was, you know, one student paid for the campaign. So I'd like to keep it on our radar for future endeavors. And I think if we can hone down on, you know, Powderhorn is where a lot of students are coming from, then great. That might be a community where we want our message to be saturated. And I know just talking to other parents who are dealing with some of the now influx of the closing schools, they're not happy with classroom sizes and some of the directions those schools are going. So if they're shopping, you know, we're not forcing their hand to shop. We're just telling them that there's another opportunity up the street. So
It all sounds positive. Thank you, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to SAC from Emily.
So SAC had a meeting last week. And the only major update is that the parent survey is going to go out likely early April. It will be substantially similar to last year. There was a redesign, I think, of the survey last year. And SAC didn't really see a need to make any big changes. So I don't think the board needs to approve that, but just an FYI, that will be going out within the next month or so. I think the plan is to have it open for a couple weeks. Maybe we'll need to talk with the marketing crew about how to get the word out to parents to fill that out. So that's the only big update.
Sounds good, thank you. Grievance committee, Emily and I have not received any new grievances from the community, staff, or families. The other piece of it is we did look over the grievance policy to make some updates. And then I took on the task of saying I talked to Brittany about some information and then I got sick. So Brittany, I'll be in contact with you over the next couple of weeks just to answer some questions for us as we finish that up before we present it to the board again.
Great. I'm glad you're feeling better, by the way.
Yeah, it was first my child, then my husband, then me. It's a long way. But anyway, we all know how that goes. It goes through the household. We talked about middle school, and then the last committee that we currently have is administrator search committee. So I'm going to throw that over to Brittany and Adam to give us an update on how things are going and timeline, and maybe just a little bit of information if you have ideas when we might move towards a board interview or board interviews, depending. So just people have it on their radar, knowing that things will get put on calendars.
Adam, you want to take it? for the interviews? I thought it was February 20th. I thought it was today. That's why I was. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Adam, it's Jen. I'm hearing from a couple people that on YouTube, they can't hear you or was it Becky? Becky. So just letting you know.
There we go. That will probably also add my audio to the mix. Sorry about that, everybody. So yeah, let me see.
So maybe just do a recap of what everything you just said.
She's saying the channel is completely silent.
Huh.
So, Aaron, can you
shouldn't-
hear when I speak?
It should
waiting.
now. That probably fixed it. I had everything coming in through the,
Oh, he
the main
says, she
channel.
says it's fixed.
Okay.
It's fixed.
Sorry about
Good
that.
job.
Yeah. So we have the position's still open on the website. We've got, let's see, it looks like someone else is connecting iPhone. Is that you, Becky?
It
Oh,
is.
so
I'm
okay.
searching for better audio.
Yeah. Okay, great. I don't have a waiting room. I just want to make sure that there's no one nefarious in there. So I'm going to mute that stream right there. Oh, shoot. Then you can't unmute it. Okay. Sorry. Trying to do a lot here. I will recap quickly what I just talked about. The position has been open. We've had good reception in terms of click-throughs. We have not had a lot of applicants. We are having interviews on Friday with some of the applicants. We hope that we have more applicants, and then we'll make a decision. I'll put it back in front of the entire board to make a decision about if we want to close the pool, if we're prepared for that or not.
Sounds good. Any idea of possible, knowing it can change, and I say that knowing timeline can change based on candidates and how the first round of interviews goes, when the board should anticipate hearing from you about trying to schedule interviews?
I would say it makes sense to shoot for that probably mid-April, given sort of a June 1st deadline that we can notify candidates, the first or second week the first week in May. Really working backwards, if we want them to be in place June 1st, we should let the candidates know by May, which means we should be having our in-person interviews mid-April, sort of latest.
Okay. And I'm going to say that I would prefer, and I don't know where everybody else is with things, if possible, the in-person interviews are in person. So
Absolutely.
We'll have to pick a date and time and come in for that, whether it's during the day or in the evening. We'll figure that out when we get closer.
Great.
I just wanted to put that on people's radar. I think it's important. So thank you for all the hard work, both Brittany, Adam, the teachers, the parents, everybody who's on that committee. I know that it's kind of a stop and go process, and there's more to do when you do the interviews and less to do sometimes in between. So thank you to everybody who's helping with that process. And it's good to have points of view from all the different levels and parents and all that. So I'm happy with how that's going. Hold on, I have the agenda on my second screen. So that's all the committees, monthly meetings. I did not make the last staff meeting because I wasn't feeling well. Terry went in my place. And then Adam's gonna go to the next staff meeting because I will be at the Colorado League of Charter Schools conference next week. Dr. Gary is going to that as well. Elizabeth, is there anything else you think we need to hear about or that the staff is asking questions about? Unless it's already gone through Gary.
I would say at this time, no, and they wouldn't have presented them to me because I was still in limbo. So they didn't necessarily come to me with anything.
The
at that
key is
point.
that we're gonna try and keep communication lines as open as possible and share information as we are able to.
Good.
So I had somebody stand in for me at the last staff meeting.
We
Um,
appreciate that.
The meeting on March 1 next week, Beth will be leading.
So Adam and I will touch base before then, and then Beth will be the one running the meeting.
Great.
Right.
Anything, Becky, from the PTA?
So just a few things. They too are entering into elections. Their elections happen earlier, so it's actually in March. They do need attendees to come and to vote. They have a couple of candidates that are interested in the open positions of both the president and then there's also secretary positions open. So if anyone can attend that is a member of the PTA to help vote in new officers, that would be appreciated. Their meeting is March 14th. And then just so everyone is aware, I know we talked a little bit last time about the auction. So the auction is returning this year. April 15th will be the live event from 3 to 5:30. So if there's individuals that can attend that, and the fundraiser is going towards the playground. This is starting that playground fund that will take multiple years to accumulate enough funds to have an impact on the playground. So if anyone is available to partake in that event, I know it's going to be a fun night. And then they are still collecting through the end of the month, so through 2/28 for the baskets and donations. So if there's any families that are able to contribute to those baskets, even if it's not monetary, they have some other volunteer opportunities for putting the baskets together for the auction. I know that that would be appreciated. And then a big thank you to the PTA and their families that are helping with the socials. These are always such a big, big event for our students. And so they are doing primary again, which I know is challenging. So they're getting all of the primary kids together in these socials. They're doing lower L and upper L. So big thanks to the PTA for putting that all together. That's all.
Sounds good. If people could check their calendars, I would like to have some board members at the event in April. Even if you can't stay the whole time, I am booked up and have been for about a year on that date already. So I won't be there, but it would be great if other board members could, even if it's for a couple hours.
What's the date? Can you just remind me of the date? April.
I think it's April 15th.
Correct. And it's earlier in the evening than the live event was previously. So it's, let me just double check the time here. I had it 3 to 5:30 on the 15th. And then they are accepting donations for teacher and staff tickets as well. So it is a Saturday. I should have mentioned that. But if you're able to, donate a teacher or staff, or if there's families on the call that can do that, I know that's appreciated, just so our teachers can, attend for free and be part of the event.
Sounds good. Thanks, Becky.
Is information for all that stuff on the website?
There's some of it on the website. I think what's been fantastic is the S'mores software that we, invested in with PTA. They've done a great job of sending out monthly updates. So a lot of it is available in those monthly updates.
Okay.
Just for families to reference.
Thank you.
JCSC, Adam, I know you were out of town last time they met. Gary, I'm going to let you speak up to this. GCSA was going to decide if they were going to continue to meet. And Dr. Gary went to that meeting on our behalf.
Thank you.
It was a good meeting. A number of people I knew, many I didn't. But Sue Miller was there, and she was representing the board and certainly an advocate for charter schools and MPA specifically. But anyway, the two biggest topics were kind of a feeling of changes with the relationship with the district. A lot of new members of the the cabinet, certainly a new superintendent. Well, what, 2 years, 3 years, I don't know. So a lot of history that existed in the past in developing a relationship with charter schools kind of is lost a little bit. I think that's kind of indicated with the district's council giving information to the charter schools that charter schools in and of themselves will be responsible for liability insurance starting in June. I keep hearing the date June 1, July 1. I think it's on June 1. We have to have a new policy in place. Jen has gotten some information from outside of the district. Joel, who works within the district, is trying to set up with the district itself or the district policy holder to hold or have some estimates for each of the charter schools. So I think we're going to be in good standing to move forward within the next couple months to make a decision about our own liability insurance. And it may appear that we'll save some money, but it's going to be another thing to manage on the plate, whereas we just work through the district. But I think the concern there is the feeling of the district is just kind of keeping us at arm's length rather than just kind of embracing us as an important component of the district. Title IX will become more our responsibility as well, other than working through the coordinator. Jen and I will be speaking to that here in the next couple of days to how we will manage that responsibility moving forward. So there's probably a 3 or 4 person leadership within the charter group that is trying to meet with the superintendent maybe on a more regular basis just to find out what's going on. So it was a good meeting. I think there'll be another one sometime soon. Part of what Cameron is trying to find, she's up at Compass Montessori, is she would like to find somebody who might help manage the mailing lists and the email listings to try to clean those up for the information that's sent out about JCSC. So we'll
Okay.
keep updated on that. That's about it on that end.
Thank you. I appreciate you attending that meeting for us. So that brings us to board calendar. Justin.
Yes. Sorry, I'm typing frantically and cleaning up from what Jen and I have been working on here, but I think we're pretty caught up. Jen, I shot you an email just to confirm that for the most part, I don't think we have to do all the reporting we've been doing to like PNC and Zion's Bank since
Yeah.
that loan is no longer.
I'm check with Todd at Zions, but I'm pretty sure those are obsolete now.
Okay, great. I removed the quarterly reports because that was done as of October, but I want to make sure before I wipe out some of the other items that I sent you. So we talked about drafting the school budget for next year. Brittany, it'd be safe to say that's in progress, right? Or will be
Yes.
soon.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we also have Emily, I was to ask you about a review draft of the parent and staff surveys. Is that something that's being discussed right now with SAC?
Yeah, that's the survey that will go out in early April, and it should be substantially similar, if not identical, to last year.
Great. So that's complete for the most part, other than, do we need to review that, or since it's the same, we won't?
Yeah, I think since it's the same, there's no need for the board to review it.
Complete. Great. Okay. Update the academic annual calendar. We voted on that tonight, so that's complete. I believe we've confirmed, and I might have missed this, you read at the planning meetings. The next board meeting is March 28th. Is that correct?
Yeah, we talked about that
Great.
last time. So we're going to meet the Tuesday after spring break. It gives the
Perfect.
finance committee a little bit more time to finalize budget for next year, and it still keeps us in a good window of time. Gives everybody the week off. The only extra meeting March 7th at 6:30 for strategic planning. Want to finish those high level long-term goals for the school. We're going to do it virtually again. I think that worked out, unless anybody had some concerns. So please let me know for any reason you cannot make that meeting as a board director.
March is complete parent and staff surveys, review strategic plan progress, which you just said, review, approve, and submit the budget. Just giving heads up on a few of the bigger projects. There is a note to submit the proposed bylaw, policy, and procedure changes, if any. And
I don't think we have any changes.
okay,
And if we approve changes to any policies, we'll deal with that.
got it. I'm going to put as needed. That's what we did last year, as needed. So, and then we get into April, and I won't bore you guys or take up any time with that because I don't see anything. Elections. Oh, I was going to just note on elections. Everybody, including our audience, should have received an email on Friday of last week. That was the initial communication, and then another email will go out on the 24th that actually will have details on where you can submit your resume, your letter of interest. And we do really encourage, because we're going to have 2 board members rolling off. So we do need some parents and family members of the school to roll on, come join us. So, so as we collect those, we'll have a review window, and I'm brilliantly trying to go off the top of my mind when Becky did a beautiful job of putting all the election dates together. So the candidate interest due date is March 24th. We'll generate the ballots March 31st, publish the candidate information April 3rd, and start the election April 11th. And then we will do a community meeting at the April 18th board meeting 1 hour prior, if that's okay with you, where our candidates will get a chance to sell themselves to the community. And then the election end date is April 25th. And we'll notify the winners. And if they accept their win, we'll make an announcement to the community right after. So.
And I'm just gonna piggyback on that. All the board meetings now through April will be virtual. I think it makes it easier for people to see what's going on with the board and hear the discussions. Also, it'll be easier for people to meet the candidates in terms of just hearing from them without having to come into the school. I think it makes it easier on parents not having to figure out who's going to watch my kids so that I can go see who the board candidate is. However, I really would like to say in May that we meet in person. I think for new board members, it's a little bit easier if the first meeting is in person as we transition over and we have paperwork signed and whatnot. So I'm just going to say virtual until May, and then May's meeting will be in person, just so everybody knows what to expect.
That's all I've got for the calendar.
Okay. So with that, we go to approving agendas. So we have December's and we have January's. Becky, do we need to do those separately?
I believe we had different attendee lists. I would need to double check here, but I think we do.
Okay, so let's deal with December first. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, see anything that needed to be changed when they looked over it? Nope. Okay. So we can move to the voting on that.
I feel odd motioning to approve my own minutes, but if there's no concerns, then I can motion to approve the December 13th, 2022 board meeting minutes.
And I'll second.
Okay. So Brittany, you were absent from that meeting, so I'm going to call the list of those that were in attendance.
That's right,
Justin?
abstain.
Yes.
Harry?
Yes.
Ashley, who's not on this evening, so she will abstain. Adam,
Yes.
Irit,
Yes.
Becky, yes. Rebecca
Yes.
and Emily.
Yes.
So that passes. And then January 17th.
I'll motion to approve the Tuesday, January 17th, 2023 minutes.
No second.
Okay. Different attendee lists. So Justin,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Adam,
Yes.
Irit,
Yes.
Becky, yes. Brittany,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
and that passes as well.
Thank you, Becky. So with that, that brings us to final comments. So I really wanted to take a minute and say thank you to everybody for all the work they're doing on these individual committees, from SAC to hiring, marketing, middle school stuff. Rebecca's helping me with OAC meetings on Thursday mornings. Everybody is doing some kind of work outside of our general board meetings. And I just wanted to say thank you for all the work that all of you are doing for the school. As well as thank you to all the teachers. We've got great leadership within our building with roundtable, within individual levels. Everybody is working really hard. And when I'm there in the morning, I can see some really happy faces when they come in the building as the kids say good morning to whether it's Tina or Gary or Beth or whoever's outside the front door or inside the front door. So thank you to everybody for all your hard work, definitely keeping our world moving forward in our little piece of MPA. So thank you and have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Should I?
You have to motion.
I can
that.
motion. I was gonna say I can
Oh,
motion to
sorry,
adjourn.
that's the end of my
Oh, yeah.
comments.
the end of Irit's portion. So I will motion to adjourn.
Second.
And I'll second.
And I think we all vote yes.
Yes.
Anybody object to that? Yeah.
Have a great
Thanks,
night,
guys.
everybody.
Have a great night.
Great.
Yeah, on the dot. That was good.